What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rebel Rounds. I am your host, O'Reilly, and I have a guest with me today, my very first guest, um,
Yay.
AK, not AKA, slash, my producer,
Okay.
uh, Tone.
What up, though?
How are you?
I am great right now. Feeling great right now.
That's good. That's good.
Been a long day.
Yeah.
Producing shows throughout the day, doing some editings, having a couple of meetings, getting things ready for Monday. Just a lot. What about you? What are you doing?
Um, I am just getting off work, coming straight here. I am exhausted. Um, but I'm really excited. One day I'm gonna tell y'all why on this day I was excited, but I don't want to tell it today. I don't want to tell it today because I don't got all the information. I'm waiting for some more information to come through
Oh,
because
okay.
it's seeming a little tea, and I'm just ready to see if I'm happy for a reason.
You're happy for a reason.
I'm talking about happy for this reason, I should
That's what
say.
I'm telling you now. Without even knowing what it is, you're happy for this reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a great day today, man. It was just exciting. So, let me give y'all a quick little rundown on my week. Um, I have been very, I want to say, I don't want to say emotional, but I've been feeling a little bothered spiritually. I feel like I've been having weight upon me that I just couldn't shake it. I don't know what it was related to, but with my leg going into some deep pain and not being able to work as much as I wanted to last week and just feeling tired, like I've been feeling exhausted, and it didn't feel like physically, it felt really spiritual. Like it
Okay.
felt like it was something that I just couldn't describe or I couldn't explain. And um so far things have gotten a little better.
Okay. That probably means you may have a mission that's being bestowed upon you,
Mhm.
and you're slowly getting through it.
Yeah.
You know, so I hope you don't have that weight on you too much longer.
No, and the thing is, I can't say if it felt bad or if it just felt like I felt like I was coming through something,
Right.
like I'm finally letting some things go, but it was random how everything was happening at one time, and so I'm just like, yeah, I'm happy it's off of me now. I feel real good today, like I said, some great news. But yeah, other than that, my week has been it's been really
Been a little,
yeah,
been a little up and down. I
up
got
and
you now.
down, yeah.
I got you. I
Not in
got
the
you.
worst way. So, today I'm I'm try not to be like too super serious, but there has been some things that I've been feeling or that I've been seeing, and it felt like right now would be the perfect time to have a conversation about parenting.
Okay.
Um the conversation really, at first my plan was to talk about like it was kind of giving people or mainly mothers uh some type of uh I don't know the word to use, but I didn't want to come hard on people. I feel like now I feel like, or I'm looking at it as like it may be an excuse, but I wanted to talk about like I wanted to talk about like why certain moms do certain things and maybe
Gotcha.
relating to like mental health issues or things like that. And
It
it,
definitely
it
can be.
I know there's some circumstances where it's like that, but I wanted to focus on that at one point, but now I'm just like I kind of want to talk about a lot of things that it could be when it comes to
Parenting.
parenting.
Okay, so I'm a dad of two, so I kind of feel like I can answer these questions for you.
You would I first of all, because any part of parenting, whether you're a single dad or you co-parenting,
Right.
whatever part you play in it, step whatever. I want your
Okay,
opinion and
I'm gonna
your
help you out
advice,
regardless.
or
No matter.
yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
So first thing, I'm gonna start with an icebreaker, just to pretty much see where your head is with things.
Okay.
Um, what do you think the biggest misunderstanding about parenting is?
The biggest misunderstanding is
Yeah.
every parent every parent shouldn't be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't mean that in the sense of like they wouldn't be able to take care of the child
Mm-hmm.
or they're only doing it for status quo. But I'm saying like some parents are still growing up themselves, like
Yeah.
as a regular human being. So because you're lacking in your maturity as a human, you tend to lack parentally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying things that you'll do will end up, ruining the kid, but sometimes your viewpoints are not always the best for
Mm-hmm.
what it is, or your parenting style. There was a TV show that was on for a brief moment in time where they had 8 different families that had all different parenting styles, and they tried to figure out which one was best.
Yeah.
But because of that, sometimes if you are not open minded and you really doing it for the kid, yeah, so not everybody needs to be a parent.
Okay. Um, for me, I would say the biggest misunderstanding is that people feel like everybody should parent the same.
And that goes back to the parenting styles.
Yeah, like I feel like they feel like we all got to do it the same way, and how they criticize everything a specific parent does that may be different from the
Right.
norm. Um,
Going back to that show, the funny thing is when they got to the end of the show,
mm,
they did say that, they did prove that not one parenting style is dominant, but
mm-hmm,
they said having multiple different ones sometimes in the household works out better for the kid. Because, for an example, you could have an aggressive mother where she talks directly, straight
mm-hmm,
to the point, this is my way or the highway kind of a mom. But meanwhile, your dad has more of a gentle side where he'll come and ask you, okay, why do you need to do this? Why is this so important?
yeah,
If you had a chance to do something else, would you choose it? Like he goes through the process of making you think, and those sometimes can work phenomenally together
right,
because mom gives you where the measuring stick is with this strong discipline, but dad gives you the ability to think smart,
right,
and a lot of times, like you said, they be trying to force only one way and one way only.
yeah,
Because you black, you're supposed to parent like this. Because you came from a Jewish household, you're supposed to parent like this. Because we did this for many years. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and I completely agree with that. I feel like, so like I said, I was gonna start off with like saying, oh, it could be a
Go
mental health
go whatever way you
thing.
want to.
It, I was gonna do that, and I still believe that mental health plays a big part, especially when you give birth to children, or
Oh
when you give birth
yes,
to children, you start thinking completely different. Some
postpartum
people,
depression
yeah,
and the shift. Because okay, I'm not a doctor, but
hmm,
when y'all give birth, a lot of y'all you feel different.
yeah,
That's what I can say. You physically feel different, and your body is now needing to replenish some of the things about itself. And
hmm,
because of that, just like if you don't have enough oxygen going to the brain, a lot of times you can think loopy and make loopy
right,
decisions, even under normal state. But because you're under duress, going back
hmm,
to every parent shouldn't be a parent,
hmm,
you now get yourself in a situation where you feel like you can't do this anymore, or you shut down, or you're blaming other people in regards to it. And because of that, you make bad decisions for the kid,
right,
you know?
right. So, the reason why I started with the mental health,
Mm-hmm.
or that thing, I started with it because I was at home and I live in an apartment building, and me and my kids were in bed,
Right.
and it's like 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So I hear screaming in the hallway, and I'm like, "What is that noise?" I'm thinking that it's a baby getting in trouble, or probably
Right.
don't want to get picked up, or just having a tantrum.
Right.
So, but I'm not hearing any adults.
Right.
So I start hearing a louder scream. And this time I'm like, no, it can't be an adult out there, because this is who they're not stopping this baby from crying, or I just don't hear anybody. So I look out my peephole and I don't see anybody. And then I open up the door because I still hear it and it sounds close. I see two babies in the hallway fighting, but not just like baby fight. This one baby, so that one
Like, wait,
baby
wait,
fully
wait, wait.
clothed,
When you say baby, are we talking like
one and two, they are babies. Like they couldn't be no older than two, because they
right?
weren't talking, and they were little, and they still had diapers on and stuff. So I'm like, these can't be no big. They were little. So I see the babies fighting. It's one baby that's only in a diaper, and then it's a baby that's fully clothed, even with a coat, everything on. And the baby that's in a diaper just swinging the other baby around, punching him in the head like this, and he bit the baby jaw and had his teeth print dead in that baby's. Like, the baby looked like he got bit by a zombie. It looked like a zombie bite. His teeth was
Wait.
like he was damn near trying to bite a chunk up out his face.
So did any adults
Let me
appear
tell you.
now?
So I come in the hallway and I'm like, no, don't do that. And the little baby in the diaper ran off. He ran around the corner. So I picked up the other baby, because he can't even cry. He trying to gasp for air and all types of. He just screamed. It was so much. So I take the baby around to where I see the other baby running from,
Right.
and these women. It's like four grown women in the house, and it's a bunch of kids, and I'm like, y'all babies was around by my apartment. And I
Okay.
said that other baby just bit his face and has
Hello.
his teeth in his face. And so the girl, she was like, "Oh, I'm about to beat his ass." And I'm just like, but they're babies and y'all not watching them.
They don't. Okay. For number
So
one,
that's
they
why
wasn't watching
I
them, so
asked
I don't know why
myself,
you.
like, that's why I'm like, does mental, like, does,
Does
having a mental, this,
does the okay?
how do
Let
I ask that question?
All right. So let's change. Let's change what the question is, because the question is in so many words. How is somebody this stupid a parent?
But I don't want to be judgy. I'm
You're
not
not being
judging.
judgy, but you have stupidity does not necessarily mean dumb or doofus. Stupidity just or ignorant.
I would say ignorant. Okay,
So
yes,
let's say she's more.
ignorant.
How is somebody this ignorant a parent?
Oh, I know how they're a parent. We know
Well,
what you do.
sometimes
You don't
mommy
gotta
and
be smart to do it.
right, like
So
sometimes mommy loves daddy, and when mommy loves daddy, he looks scared. But
no, but I
but no,
mean,
after the night of passionate love making after the club, and then you go home and two becomes one,
okay,
and then 9 months later, three
okay,
comes up. That's every time when 1+1=3.
okay.
Uh,
No, for real though.
no, seriously. But at the time, I mean, my mind went blank. When you're okay, my mind is going blank right now. Okay, when you have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was getting at, and the kid is not what you expected at that moment.
Yeah.
So like you went out, you had a great time, things happen, you're pregnant, whatever that conversation looks like is done. Now you have a child and you have to figure out how to raise it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you didn't come from a good household where they already had, let's say, the disciplined mom and the gentle dad, or whatever version of parenting style that they had, if you didn't have that they actually focused on you and made you learn and be a priority, you have nothing to learn from. If you're always in daycare or bouncing from house to house, when did you learn how to be a parent? Okay.
Right.
So, and then a lot of them are having them while they're young. So you're still a kid, and there's that constant stay in the kid's place kind of a situation. So when you do become a parent,
Mm-hmm.
you have nobody to guide you properly. This
Right.
is why the whole conversation about big mamas were so important. That's why the village thing was so important. But all those different things is when you don't have something to look at to
Right.
say, this is how raising a kid should be,
Hmm.
you're going to still be who you are.
Right.
And at that point in time, you're still a club goer, drinker, partying in the wee hours at the house. Just bring all the kids together, then maybe, things need to be looked at a little bit differently in that question. But no, just give them ignorancy and
Oh,
nobody
because I
teaching.
was I was just thinking like at some point a mental health issue plays a part in this because to be so unaware, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not judging.
Right.
Um, because a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, they have, misplaced their child. Because I've seen it a couple
But
times growing
okay,
up,
if
and
you
I don't call it. I
no,
don't. I don't.
that is a kid being a kid. Because
Right,
as a parent,
but it's
you always have that one crawler that gets to going.
yeah.
So you can misplace your kid. It
But it
happens.
gets to a point where these kids are out here fighting in the hallway, and this is not the first time that the kids would leave out the apartment
Okay,
and be running around in the hallways and stuff like that.
so that's more of the question should be one, what's distracting the mom if she's woke when this happens,
Right.
and two, where's the lack of security for the child? Simply by putting a little latch thing where
Yeah.
you can't open the door up high,
Hmm.
that stops that hallway situation. But the baby fighting situation, that has to be something that's within the home going on. And it
Okay.
might not just only be that parent, it may be the environment. Like you said, for an example, you had the four young ladies who are all, drinking, partying, having a good time while the kids are running around doing whatever they want to.
Hmm.
They see the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe when they're at home, they're yelling at each other. They talk to each other by cussing, and as you can see, they go to physical discipline right away
Hmm.
without even taking in consideration what needs to really be looked at in the situation. But it's a lot of it does have to be the environment. I will say with the
Oh, I
parenting is
definitely
more
think it's
more
the environment with
environmental
that
than it is
fighting.
mental.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, I'm like they definitely seen somebody getting down before because that baby, that baby
he was
was
throwing them
beating it.
hands
Oh my goodness. And I didn't in the moment it wasn't funny, but
as you now look back at it.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was crazy because you thinking about babies just throwing down like that. And I'm like, yeah, that was a lot. So I can feel that being more environmental than
Okay.
mental. But I just feel like when it comes to like you completely just not being aware or,
Yeah.
just constantly not paying attention. Um that's why I said I didn't want to lead with it being
No,
um
let's get the tough
a mental
conversations
problem.
out there,
No,
man.
I was just saying I didn't want to lead with it being that
Mm-hmm.
because once I thought about it, I'm like, that's the easy way out to say that you have a mental disorder or something that's keeping you away from paying attention. But y'all are doing something in there that y'all just simply, it's too many of y'all. Then that it's for y'all. So nobody in their right mind up in here with all these kids, and it's like it was so
Nope.
many. So it threw me off to actually see that. And um when you see things like that, especially if you somebody that's like me, I am very hard on myself when it comes to parenting because there's a lot of things that I cannot give to my kids in this moment that I want to give to them because I did not have a lot of things growing up. So I'm like, I feel like you need to have these things because I didn't have it. So
Okay.
I beat myself up for it. And then when I see mamas like that, like my kids were in the bed with their mama at 11 o'clock at night, these kids running around, probably not getting no attention at all. And that's not judging, but it made me realize like you're doing a good job and don't beat yourself up about it. And, you
Exactly.
know,
I was getting ready to get
yeah,
there.
that I had to realize it through certain things that I be seeing with other parents and
Period.
stuff.
That's what until you're around, that goes back to that circle, that square.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, it's a little bit of both of what you're saying, both on the positive and a negative side of it. Those four young ladies probably come together because they're trying to figure out how to be parents.
Okay.
And they're trying to learn, use each other as a crutch. They may not each individually be working with the kid,
Yeah.
but they're at least each other's support system while they try to figure out. But on the other side, now the environment, like, yes, us four come together and we're each other's backbones, but you have been taught by your pet family to whoop your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm looked upon as differently, or ooh, maybe if I whoop my kids, even though they don't look like the kind of kids or they don't behave like the kids where physical discipline is what's needed,
Mm-hmm.
but because that's what you do and you support me, I guess I should be doing like the way you be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we pick up bad habits of parenting from being around other people who are parenting in regards to it. Whereas in some parents won't let their kids eat after 7 o'clock. Other ones will just say don't eat, snacks all night.
Right.
Or some may be like, look, if you're hungry, get up and get you something to eat.
Right.
Everybody can do different things, but if all of y'all don't come, like if all of y'all are the wrong things, if all of yours are kids can stay up as long as they want to, just don't bother me after 9 because I need to get my sleep or whatever the excuse may be.
Yeah.
Or, they just really just let the kid be free because, like you said, you feel bad you couldn't have these things. They could just let the kids run free because they were forced to have that discipline, that strict time, that whole thing without any reasoning for why it must be done this way.
Mm-hmm.
So now they do everything the wrong way, but in their head and in their community, it's what you're supposed to do.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I just
You just want them to get their stuff together.
Yeah, because it was also it was just it just felt like, dang, like y'all all in this house and nobody knew that these babies was out here. And then it's also like, who fault is it
Everybody.
if your baby ended up? It would have been, you know what? That's the crazy thing that you just said that too, because there were so many apartments. There's people with Ring cameras on their apartment doors. Nobody came out to get those babies. I was the only person.
What time did you say it was?
It was 11. But I live in an apartment where people be partying often.
And that could play a factor. They may not be asleep, but they may not be attentive. Because anything could be going on in their humble abode, but they're not looking at what's outside. Also,
I understand that, but that's
also
scary.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's leave things alone. We got that mentality too.
Yeah, and listen, that would have been my first thought. Like, of course, I have kids up in here. I'm not running out to go just jump into anything. But I am nosy enough to look out my door and see what's going on.
Looking out your door can make you be in witness protection.
But I don't know if it was something so much more
but
serious.
I get it. No, I get it.
Them babies, somebody could have been taking the babies or something. Like, if it was just something that was a little bit more serious, it just would have messed me up knowing that I could have done something. And I mean, it's a double-edged sword when you look at it, because anything could have happened in between both of those moments. Like, those mamas could have want to fight me seeing me carry their baby. That was another thing I was thinking about. Like, because in that moment I wanted to cuss them out. Like, why are y'all babies out here? And I did well. I just went back to the house and in my apartment and called my sister.
Yes, and then stick a note on the door.
Yeah, like
the next day when everybody's calm and it could be possible to be a one-on-one.
Yeah, I ain't on none of that. Nope, I don't do all that. But yeah, it was just something that kind of got me into thinking about, like, how people parent and what caused them to just do some of the things that they do. So I'm gonna move on to asking you some questions.
Sure.
This is a segment called Battle Scars, and it's pretty much when you share your unique perspective on a topic that we're talking about, or you give like personal experiences related to the topic.
Okay.
So I think some of these we kind of answered.
That's because we talked. I talk too much.
So I'm gonna ask this
Ask just
one.
ask him anyway.
Okay, it's how has your upbringing shaped your perspective on parenting, and what aspects have you chosen to embrace or reject?
Okay. I came up in a single parent household, but nope. Let me take that back. I came up in a single mother village household, meaning that my grandparents were there and uncles, stuff like that. And then my mom got married, so then I went from that to a two-parent household. And then I had a little brother as well in all this story. So my family kind of grew. So one thing I will say I took from my family is the importance of family. Because as we went through each one of those steps, new people got added to my life that became my brothers, became my sisters, became my aunties, uncles, my other grandmother. So having those connections and building those bridges to make sure everything
Mm-hmm.
is like a community, I definitely make sure I keep that as much as possible with my own family. What I what I wouldn't take from it, unfortunately, I happened to come up in one of those households where physical discipline was the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to me, even into the situations where it wasn't necessary, and the parenting style was by fear. Everything was do as I say or else.
Yeah.
So you live in fear. And when you live in fear, you tend to be a little bit stagnant when you kind of can grow up. So when it came time for me to have kids, I wanted kids because I wanted to parent the kids the things I was missing myself
Mm-hmm.
in a more emotional kind of a way.
Yeah.
Because everything else when it comes to my family was there financially. But the lack of emotional connections is what made the biggest issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been limiting fear about if making a mistake leads to this, that I couldn't allow myself to connect to anybody because they would have to get taken away in the equation.
Mm-hmm.
So very open with letting my girls have friends and communicate with each other. We're very open in communication,
Mm-hmm.
something that me and my mom didn't do either.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in, like I said, once again, it's what I say goes. Whereas in, I speak to my kids, I ask them, I want their opinions on it. I want them to talk to me about everything that they feel comfortable with, and then let's build another bond that you become even more comfortable to tell me things that you didn't think I need to know. Like my oldest is in middle school right now, so she's making those friends and they're experiencing life together,
Yeah.
you know, and growing up. So there's times where I want her to feel comfortable when this boy in her class said A, B, C, and D to this other boy. Why would he do that? Like, I want them to feel comfortable to ask whatever kind of questions or even tell me about things that they're conflicted on as
Mm-hmm.
they grow up. So those are two of the biggest things I think I
Okay.
try to do differently.
Okay. What is your perspective on generational cycles in Black families, and how do you think they should be changed?
Whew. Okay. So often in that, well, over the course of the last maybe 4 years, the phrase generational curse has been used a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like I really only hear it when it refers to the black community anyway.
Yeah.
But I get at a pass because I don't hang out with a lot of Italians to hear their generational curses. So, but for now, we're going to speak only on the black perspective.
Well, that's the only perspective I care
Right.
about
No,
when it
because I
comes
asked
to
that
this
because
topic.
that's another thing. Like certain generations, that other cultures, they do have things that do come down with them and migrate with them and teach
Mm-hmm.
them in regards to that. The black community, unfortunately, we don't have that same kind of connective lineage anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the common joke by my generation is when Big Mama died, so did the family. So, because if you ever seen the movie Soul Food, you
Mm-hmm.
know the family fell apart when Big
Yeah.
Mama wasn't there. Overall, in real life, that's how it is. When that one person who keeps the family together, who house we come together, who we linked on when we were going through bad things, and then once we became good again, we went this direction.
Yeah.
when she no longer was there were no longer people connecting. And because of that, we wasn't, able to do and make sure the kids do the things that they want to do in regards to that.
I have
Because
a
you lost it.
I
What's
have a
up?
question for that. Do
Okay.
you think that with having Big Mama, she kind of she kept the family together, but
Right.
she like swept a lot of stuff under the rug that when she died, it forced people
Yes.
to face some realities and things because my family alone, I know I'm not the only
No,
black
no,
family. I don't have the only black family that experienced some very traumatic events.
no. It's true.
A lot of stuff came out. I never met the big mama of our family,
Hmm.
but I've heard so many stories about things that was happening when she was alive and how a lot of that stuff came out after she died, and
Right.
that some of those stories still making its rounds through
Right.
the
Well,
generation down, and it's just like,
Big Mama. Okay, so Big Mama was both. Like I said, she was the one that kept the family together. She was the focal point, and of course, when she's no longer here, you don't have that focal point. But
mm,
there's a secondary, and this goes back to the secrets in the family.
yeah,
Okay, Big Mama was the person who you were always guaranteed to keep your secret,
hmm,
meaning that if no matter what's going on or how this is progressing or what the outcome is, it because I started telling you the story, I'm always going to tell you the story.
yeah,
So Big Mama found out about a bunch of stuff, and because she would know everything going on in the family, because in one shape or form everybody told her everything, she would know if it got out about Jackie, Diane, Carl, Charles, Earl. I'm trying to think as many old names as
yeah,
possible. That this one thing happened, then you find out that's really that kid, and that kid is that, and that.
yeah,
Like if she is not there for you to tell her or her to keep the pieces together, that one person who needs to be kicked out the family may cause a domino effect. And then when Big Mama's gone, and now you need to go talk about she's your therapist, who you gonna talk to? Then you just start saying stuff, and
yeah,
then people just start exposing stuff, and then people be like, "Well, I was only keeping my mouth quiet because of Big Mama. Now I got to get this out." They don't care anymore because with Big Mama not being there for all of us to come together, you ain't got to see them no more. It's like when TikTok got almost got taken
yeah,
from us. Everybody was confessing
yeah,
everything. Once TikTok came back, it was like, oh, okay, let me delete that. And
right.
that's kind of what happens in families. That's literally a depiction of family. We want to get everything out there now. Big Mama's not there to tell it, so now we just gonna tell everybody.
Do you feel like it did more harm
Harmed and
than
good.
good?
I think it yes and no, and I know you're gonna hate that answer. It did what it was supposed to do for when it was doing it.
Yeah,
Because you have to remember there was a lot of things that the black community could not share
yeah.
as we were in slavery, and then as we came or started coming out, and I hate to go back to slavery, but a lot
No,
of
but
but
a
a lot
lot
of
of our
black trauma
conversations are gonna go back to slavery
black
because
trauma comes from
yes,
that,
it
and we just don't talk about it.
yeah,
But no, once we got out of that, we were still so we got to hold on to as much as we can because any given time they could take it from us. And it happened with information as well too. It happened with knowledge as well too. It happened about anything going on in the family. We gotta hold it close to us. We
yeah,
can't let nobody. And yeah, a lot of stuff can happen out of that. I'm trying to stop rambling.
yeah. Uh, okay. 'Cause I don't think you got to the other part. Okay.
What was the other part again?
Um,
That's what I'm starting doing. What's the question
how
again?
do you think it should be changed? As far as like the
We're doing
generation
it.
cycle.
We're doing it. Uh, allowing black folks allowing therapy
Yeah.
to be becoming a part of their lives is allowing them to be able to actually look and see like, hey, when I was a kid it was like this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what else to do, and now your therapist can help you find out that whether that's right or
Yeah.
wrong, or if that's a bigger problem, or do you always yell at your kids because your mom always yelled at you and never
Mm-hmm.
heard you. So now since you know why you do these things, now let's work on changing those things, and we go from those physical discipline parents to let's have an understanding.
Yeah.
Now here's the result kind of a situation.
Okay. Um, how does the absence of a parent physically or emotionally affect the child's ability to form healthy relationships in adulthood? Like your perspective.
It If they don't have healthy role models around them, it can affect them negatively. And the reason why I'm saying role models, because if you're missing your father,
Mm-hmm.
but you have uncles and you have granddads and you have neighborhood brothers,
Mm-hmm.
or you have anything that gives you a representation of what a man is, and more importantly, what a man who's in a relationship and how that's supposed to look, you can still get those positive outcomes even with that person missing. But if it's just you and mom, there's going to be attachment issues.
Yeah.
There's going to be a difficulty in understanding what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. One thing I've noticed when it comes to sons and mothers, they sometimes build that symbiotic relationship where the mom makes the son her proverbial boyfriend in the way she caters to him.
Mm-hmm.
And until you can come into her life and be all of that without making your son feel inadequate, she won't never take that away from them.
Yeah.
And then you end up creating a gang of men who feel that they are supposed to be catered to in order to even be in a relationship. So they look for those women who are, I don't want to say low minded.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the word right now, but they're easy to manipulate, and it creates this negative trickle down effect where it's all about control, and they don't need that anymore.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you got to work backwards.
Yeah. Okay. So if you see me typing, I just want to let you know I'm not being rude. I'm taking notes because
No,
I
no,
want to
it's
go
cool,
back to it.
and that's why I keep looking at
Yeah.
my phone to remind myself something. You good?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
good? You good?
Okay.
Be good.
Because I wanted to mention something like what you're saying about the mothers and the relationship
Right.
with their sons. One thing, like I said, I do be hard on myself when it comes to parenting.
Okay.
And my son right now is so emotional. Like he cries about everything. He's 6 years old, and it pisses me off that he cries so much
Right.
because sometimes I feel like these aren't things that you should be crying about. But
Okay.
I definitely don't want to put that stigma or that you're a boy, you're not supposed to be crying. I don't push that on him because I do want you to feel your emotions, and if you have to cry about it, definitely cry about it. But a lot of times, well, however, a lot of times I want him to express himself without crying. Like
Okay.
talk about it. You don't have to cry about it. And so what I was going to say is how do you what kind of advice would you give to me
To work around
for
that, to
yeah
get
to
that
like
fixed.
so I don't want to be hard on him, but I also don't want to be soft on him, and this
Okay.
is what I have to deal with as a single mom, and not putting no responsibility on anybody to come in, and
You're just trying to figure
I
out
just
your.
want to know what
You're just
I
trying to
should
figure
do.
out what works for you.
Yeah.
That's the best way. And parenting is different for everybody, so you don't want to do it and figure out like how to be the good parent. You want
Mm-hmm.
to find out what works for you.
Right.
In the story. So since I don't know your kid, let's start with, is something that what he cries for, or when he's crying, is it something that is directly affecting him and how he feels?
I honestly I don't know because
The
I can
last
literally say I would tell him just say something is on the table and I need it to be picked up and he
right.
didn't pick it up, and I'd be like, I guess I'll pick it up, and then he'll go and be like, but I was finna do it, and then just start breaking down crying. I'm like,
Okay.
why does that make you cry that I said I'll just do it? Like,
First of all, stop doing that. Stop doing that.
okay,
Number one, you got to be direct when things need to be done. So let's
okay,
take that scenario. I'm glad you gave me a scenario to work with.
okay,
Uh, so in that particular scenario, you asked him to do something. Okay, and what you asked him to do wasn't done when you noticed it, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, stop right there. This is where you can immediately figure out a person's different parenting style,
Mm-hmm.
because I would have said to my child, I thought I told you to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You, passively aggressive, said, well, since you didn't do what I said, I'm
No,
disappointed in
right.
you, but I'll go get it. And I know you're doing it in your way of passively aggressively saying, I told you to pick something up,
Yeah.
instead of just saying, I told you to pick
It's
something
just
up.
sometimes I don't know if I'm being too hard on them.
You can
And that's
never,
my own thing. I guilt trip myself.
here's something that you need to do. It's a very simple, easy thing to do.
Okay.
Just ask your kid some question. If you tell him to do A, B, C, D, sometimes you just got to explain to them why it has to be done and why it has to be done in this manner. And then once you've explained it to them and they've done it, I said, does that make sense? Do you understand? Do you know why? And you're teaching them to learn how certain things are musts and certain things are I can.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I can get to this later or I got to do this now. You know, then again, we as grown adults are still arguing about taking out the garbage. So that's a whole nother conversation to itself. But no, you have to teach them of when something must be done now to yield a positive result, or something needs to get done within a certain time frame to yield a positive result. Once you start teaching them how to do things when it needs to be done, a lot of that's going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he starts crying, he's like, when he said, but mom, I said I was going to get to it. And he's crying. Ask him, why are you crying?
Yeah.
Okay. And then he said, because you didn't let me do it. If it was so important for you to do it, why didn't you do it right away? Like now, it's the teaching.
Yeah.
It's teach me why you think this way, so I can teach you how to the correct way. It's like, because I had to go do this over here. But if you wanted to make sure that this was done for me, because this is what you said,
Mm-hmm.
and you're now upset that I decide to do it, then that means if you want it to be done you want to do it for me, do it right away. Then you can go do what you want to do for you. And this now makes me happy because I asked you to do it and you successfully done it. That's that positive.
Okay.
You're proud of them because they did it what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And they figured it out at that age.
Yeah.
So you got to adjust it with every single age you get to.
Yeah.
So now we're getting up a little bit more. We in that preteen phase where they're starting to get set in their ways, and you ask them to go do something. Hey, go in there and clean up that mess you made in there. Ooh. You go in your back room, you're doing what you're doing, you come back, you see they haven't left what they're doing. Okay, I'll take a little bit of accountability. I told you to go clean the front room, so I gave you a job, but I didn't give you a time or a demand. So had I been like, hey, get in there and clean that front room up right now, since y'all not going back in there. I'm also, now that I've decided this is what I need you to do, this is when I need you to do it, and this is why I need you to do it. Sometimes, oh, okay, all right, fine. They'll fuss, but then they'll go do it, or, hey, get in there and clean that front room up before you go to bed tonight. So whatever you're doing right now, you can finish it, but know it has to be done. And I may even remind them, give them a time before you go to bed tonight. Oh yeah, speaking of that, it's 7:00. Y'all got to be in bed by 8:30. So now they got a task that they're supposed to do, right, to yield a positive result. But if there's anything else you want to do, get this done as soon as possible, so you got the maximum amount of time. Because I'm going to look back at my phone at 8 and I'm seeing that I'm going to be cleaned up. And now we're going back to the first one. Now, kind of a situation, because you got to be in bed by 8:30.
Well, I appreciate that because it's either the passive aggressive or I'm coming real aggressive,
You can't.
I just I don't know what be right and what's wrong in the moment.
Passive aggressive, because you got young kids, right?
Yeah, 6 and 8.
See, you got them preteens. You're them the ones who you got to be more specific with the time and this and that. That crybaby is because I'm gonna tell you right now that passive aggressive lets him know that he can get away with stuff. You see, all kids are just like little animals. They'll keep doing something as much as they can until either A, they get hurt, B, something gets broken, or C, you finally stop them and make them do otherwise. So in that situation, you just gotta like have those conversations, figure out what they're understanding, not understanding, make him shift that emotion into words,
Yeah.
and then y'all can get past it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
No
Well,
problem.
a great answer, and I'm gonna try to apply it. It's
Takes
not
time.
easy. It's really not easy for me because, like, my mama, she wasn't. I never got whoopings. There was a tough couple times when she punched me, but it
That's
was
wild.
no, it was only because I feel like I needed it for something. Not all of them, but anyways, I didn't get whoopings. My mama really was not the type to. She did yell a lot, um, but she never hit me, and I never did things to the point where I just needed to get my ass whooped.
Right.
So, um, I don't want to whoop my kids at all. Like I don't like whooping my kids. I don't want to hit them, especially because I feel like life has been doing its thing with me. I don't want to hit my kids out of any frustration that I'm feeling.
You don't want to
And
get to the point, and
yeah,
that's another that physical discipline can
yeah,
also yield a lot of times, even though the severity of the whooping, like why you're getting it,
yeah,
might be necessary, sometimes we do allow our day to come and channel into our parenting
yeah,
styles. And we do take our frustrations out on our kids.
yeah,
And it may not just be on these physicals, because, sometimes you might yell at your kid about something, or you deny them to have something they're used to having, take their phones for no reason because you're frustrated at Diane in the county. So, yeah.
and I just feel like with actually just getting to the point where you got to hit your kids. I'm not saying that I never spanked them or anything before, but just getting to the point where you have to hit your kids, I just feel like that says a lot about your patience and how you
Well,
process things. Because this is just how I feel. I'm
I
not
got you.
saying this is what it is. This is
No.
just how I feel. Because I don't get upset enough with them to be like, oh, I just want to hit you for what you just did. Now, there has been times where I couldn't take it anymore and I got upset enough and I'm just like, yeah, you may need your ass whooped this time because you just not listening and I
Right.
can't keep saying the same thing to you.
I get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to change your mind, but you also have to learn that when it comes to parenting, receiving styles play a factor too. I can tell somebody, like, let's go back to the cleaning up the front room. So here it is, 8:30, and they haven't cleaned the front room up yet. How do what do I need to do in order to convey the best level of discipline that the consequences stick? Now, going back to slavery, that's where whippings came into play at.
Mm-hmm.
If you got whooped, you got a whipping, which is a whooping as we call it now, but if
Mm-hmm.
you got whipped, you weren't going to forget that. You're going to have constant reminders on your body that there was something you did that was so bad that this had to happen in order for you never to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't say never whip your kids or never whoop your kid,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a threshold level where by letting them know that a whooping is an option and they actually receive it,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes has to work for that kid.
Yeah.
We got this is a digital age now. Taking away phones, tablets, and video games can be a better disciplinary option for some
Oh, it
kids.
is. I
You
know
know?
it. My daughter was just on punishment because she's getting to a point where she trying and I don't want to hit my daughter because of some deeper issues when it comes to like the mother daughter thing. I don't want that with my daughter. I don't want her to look at me a certain way, but I still want you to understand that I am mother and you're not going to be behaving like some of these little girls that I see.
Okay,
So
let me ask you
I
this
took her
question.
phone from her
Right.
and she couldn't handle it. She only did one day and she talking about some I'm bored and I promise you I won't never act up again because I want my phone.
Right.
And
So
that felt good
so
to be like,
that's one,
no.
but and that's that receiving style. So
Yeah.
taking away the phone has a more adverse effect on her than if you were to whoop her. Because if you hit her, she may not understand what this is for. And Once the wound
I think she
heals,
old enough to understand, but
nope.
I
I'm
just feel
just
like
saying,
she's gonna
like
feel differently
it's not. Yeah,
about
it's
it.
going. That's what I'm saying. What this whooping? When I say feel what this whooping is for,
Okay.
it's more so like, why was this the choice?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how their brain has to be. So taking the phone away from them, you're losing you for this kid, this generation, your connection to the world. So to sit in your own thoughts or have to realize that you got to interact with your brother and your
Yeah.
mom, that kind of can hurt kids this day and age. So that's why the physical discipline is not as necessary as it used to be back in the days, because there's so many other ways. Or there's just simply just forcing your kids to do things like, oh, because you didn't listen when I told you to do ABCD, now you got to do yard work
Yeah.
tomorrow, or you got to go work with your mom in the morning, or you got to go this way,
Yeah.
or since you can't do that, you can't go to the, you can't play your game, not the game, you can't play in your soccer game this weekend.
Yeah.
Like those things, like here's the punishment, because now you're doing something instead. It makes that, okay, I had to cut the grass. If I would have just did the front room, which is so much more easier
Mm-hmm.
than cutting grass, I
Yeah.
ain't got to cut grass again, kind of situation. So yeah, like whooping is necessary for certain situations,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many more options this day and age that work more with this generation.
Yeah. And yeah, I just wanted to know, like, okay, how do I handle that situation?
Right.
So, because I feel like I am the softest parent in the world sometimes, because
No, you're
I do
not.
see people around me who discipline their kids a certain way, and I just be like, I wish I could be a little tougher on my kids when it comes to that. It's all that all stems from something that I feel though, like it how I parent my kids really has like something to do with what I remember growing up.
Right.
And I did not have the worst childhood. I just had certain things that I remember, and I'm like, "Ooh, I do not want to do that to my kids. I know how that made me feel, and I remember what it was like when I had to experience this. So I don't want to do that to my kids." And
And you don't have to have those conversations. Talk to your kids.
yeah,
Find out the way that their thought processes are,
yeah,
and then just at that point in time cater to what you need to. You may have a kid where all you have to do is give them the look, and they know, oh, I'm messing up,
yeah,
you know. And then you have other ones that simply just minimizing what they can do
yeah,
will make them straighten up.
yeah. I have a cousin who she has a lot of kids, and no shade. Her kids are well mannered. They they go to people's house. You see everybody kids running around. Her kids, if nah, sit that down. Ain't no, we ain't doing all that. They can play, but how some of the family kids be,
Right.
including mine, because they can't go nowhere without fighting each other or they cousins. But my other cousins, they gonna sit right there. We ain't getting into none of that. Our mama ain't got to tell us nothing. And I love how disciplined her kids are when they go out in public, because again, I'm one of those soft parents. My kids, they'll try me. They'll try me, and they know because we're in public that they can try me because I won't react how I would when we're at home.
And that's because you got to stop that passive aggressive.
Yes.
You got to stop that, because as many kids as your cousin might have, I guarantee you, one tried, failed,
And they all saw
and they all saw it,
it.
and they all are all in line now.
Yep. Because she definitely,
That's all it is.
her kids is, they
And
very
sometimes
well mannered in public.
you don't have to, because I have to. Like I said, I got two girls, and my girls are very well mannered in public. They interact, they don't interact. They
Mm-hmm.
keep tabs on unsafe environments, and
Mm-hmm.
they make their way to where they're supposed to. And they enjoy themselves. They friendly, but they'll
Yeah.
just enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And it has, I've never had to put. They've never tried anybody. It's just sometimes how you communicate with your kids.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll work on it.
You'll
Like I
get
said, I'm gonna
there.
work on it. Yeah, I hope I get there before these teen years, because
Every
I've,
cycle you gotta
oh
adjust
my
your style.
god, this she only in the second grade, and I just be like, oh my goodness, like what are you kids even talking about? Why are you kids like this in the second grade? Like
You
some
got
things I don't remember doing in the second grade or saying, or even just like how kids be cussing in front of grown-ups. And I'm just like, obviously I can't stop her from being around kids that curse, but I'm like, I don't like how corrupted the world is and the kids around you are because they're teaching you things and you're learning things and it's
you got it. Okay, so just because you don't remember learning, talking, saying, doing
yeah.
these things at when you were in the second and third grade doesn't mean you didn't do it.
I didn't I
You
didn't
just
say I
don't
didn't do
remember.
it. I just said I don't
So,
remember.
and I think that you're looking at childhood from parent eyes, so
Yeah.
it's making you look at childhood differently.
Yeah.
Not every kid is a bad kid. Yes, if a kid is cussing around adults, that means he's been around adults that allowed him to cuss and didn't indicate
Or
why it was
kids just
bade.
like to do stuff that they
But
wouldn't
they
do
and they
around
do.
they parents and
But
stuff
those
because
things are gonna happen. They're gonna be kids that are gonna
yeah.
interact.
No, I don't think that they're bad kids. It's just that I don't want my kids poisoned by it
Your kids
because
can't be poisoned.
they
Hear
can.
me out. They can't be poisoned because it's a part of their generation. So it's already there in their face long before you think about it. They're going to make choices. Now, one if they make a choice and you're not, keen with that choice, especially that teenage years, have that conversation with them. Let them know
Yeah.
why it bothers you. Let them know how things used to be differently. Even sometimes let them know what the outcome can be.
Yeah.
If you do this over here, when I'm not around, of course I'm not gonna know unless you get caught or get in trouble by it. But don't do it because of this reason. Don't do it because of that reason. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. Like you have to sometimes just have those conversations and even ask them, why do you want to do this? Like, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Have those conversations with them, and then they can develop and learn how to make their choices on their own. So you, as a mother, start to become more and more calm about what's ever going on because you
Yeah.
know they're going to make the right choices that you taught them would be the right choices.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think learning that it's definitely something that I want to accomplish.
you
It's going
will.
I know it's gonna take time. I'm not used to having conversations with my parents. I mean, my parents talk to me, but they only talk to me. It wasn't us having a conversation.
Okay,
So
this is what I want you to work on. Okay. I want you to go home. I got you homework last week. I'm gonna give you homework this week. They
okay.
just gonna hear it on air this time. Go home and write down everything that your parents did that you was like, but you could have did that differently
Yeah.
when
Okay.
it comes to you. And then sit down and ask yourself, have you done this with your child? Have you done like go down each one and see if you've done it with your kid?
Okay.
And if you can honestly not think of a single moment that you've done any of these things with both of them, then you're already working on being a better parent
Okay.
because you've already taken anything about your childhood that you didn't get from your mom or your dad or any of the family members that you felt like you needed. That means you're already making sure your kids get it.
Yeah.
Like my mom, I came from an era where parents really didn't say I love you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They just bought you stuff, said I put a roof over your house, and just basically just work, 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 work.
Yeah.
I tell my kids I love you. I communicate that to them. I make them say it back to me, and then I ask them, do they understand why I'm saying that? Do you know why I'm saying that this time? Why I'm saying that time? So they get to typical. They know I love them
Mm-hmm.
because my actions show it. But putting those words on it makes a big difference for them too.
Yeah.
So those things like that is what you didn't get. Give to your kids, but don't give to your kids out of guilt.
Okay.
Give to your kids out of technique
Mm-hmm.
because well, I think you mentioned it earlier, so I'll use you. You couldn't get things from your parents when you were younger, so you buy things for your kids now.
Yeah.
By
Well, I
doing,
don't buy for. I want to. I
and you want
want to
to.
give them.
So, and that's cool, but when you get to that stage in your life when you can,
Yeah.
you got to do it because it's love.
Yeah.
Like, okay, my kids worked hard. They got this. I
Right.
love them. They was able to deal with all these different things. So we're going to Disneyland.
Okay.
compared to just saying, well, I never got to go to Disneyland as a kid and I just won the lottery, so I'm taking them. Like, you're not doing it to make them better children, you're doing them to satisfy your child.
Okay.
So look at it, do that, and you'll be good.
Oh, that was great advice. I really appreciate that. Um, okay, so I have two more questions for you. Um, this is the last question in Battle Scars, but
Whoa, we still there?
yeah, we on the last question. We kind of skipped some of the questions.
You're talking to a master potter, so
Yeah, like you got some good advice though. Um, if you could change one thing about how
ooh,
Black parents are supported and viewed in society, what would it be?
I would want to change the imagery that we are users. They paint the picture often or not in the media that the Black Americans are not thriving. We're the ones using government assistance. We're the ones who are depending on the country. We're the ones who are always voting and trying to steer away from economic growth because all we do is spend, spend, spend. We put the narrative that Black folks are more consumers than anything, and I
Right.
want that myth to be busted because there's entirely too many entrepreneurs, even just here in the city of Milwaukee,
Yeah.
that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, for us to believe that there Black women have some of the highest numbers in college graduating, ever than before.
Yeah.
So you're not going to sit here and tell me we just got a bunch of women sitting at home on government assistance when I have so many Black women who are making six figures. It's to the point right now where the women are doing so much better than the men that a lot of y'all are contemplating if y'all even need us anymore.
That's another
There's another conversation for a
conversation.
different day. But,
Yeah.
and even as in parenting, there are more two parent households than people think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. And the thing about it is, people, a two parent household doesn't necessarily mean that mommy and daddy is living together in the same household. Two parents is coexisting to raise a child together mentally, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. You don't have to be under the same roof to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be in the same household. You can literally do that from two different states if you are on the same page and it's
Right.
about the kid. And a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So we're gonna move on to Rebel Remedies, and it's just
Okay.
a reflection of reflective segment where we come bring everything together,
Bring it all to terms.
bring it all to terms, and
That parenting in the Black community is not bad. It just needs to be polished.
yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, everything does, everything, everybody,
Mhm.
but the focus definitely is um the Black community when it comes to conversations like this, because a lot of people don't like for you to call them out. A lot of people don't like to have uncomfortable conversations. And like I said, I do want to poke some bears and stuff. And I don't even really feel like we got as deep as we could have gotten with
Yeah.
this conversation, because it's so
It
so
was we
many
got to sit
branches.
we got to sit
Yeah.
down and work together to make the questionnaires for that one. Then you can get real deep on that. We
Yeah.
don't we need like a couple of more people for that one.
Yeah. Because definitely want different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how other people handle certain situations, how they feel about parenting, even non-parents, because people like to shun them and kick them out of the conversation. But people who aren't parents have given me some of the greatest advice. Just on the fact that some of them are educators and some of them are, community workers. Like they are involved with children on those levels, and they get to see them in a
And
different
I was getting ready
light
to,
and shit.
right. I was getting ready to
So
say those non-parent parents. Yeah, that's like they get to see the world from a different perspective.
yeah.
They get to see the world from what you can't see of yourself while
Mm-hmm.
you're parenting, but understand that this is a team to raise this kid.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, a lot of them are educators and they're talking to the kids. So the conversations that we're not having, well, y'all, I have it, but the conversations that we're not having with our kids, they're doing it for us.
Yeah.
they're sitting down and finding out how they feel and what they see and why these things are the way they are, to the point where maybe they do need to, at this point in time, another thing that the black community needs to stop doing is stop fighting when they try to help. You
Yes.
know, like
Yes.
the school systems are not the best in regards to it, but the school systems try to do as much as they can because you're not getting the results you want, or they're telling you that your child needs more than you can provide. That's another thing.
Accountability.
The ego sometimes of the parents will cause parents to make bad choices too. Uh, and in this case, in certain
Whew.
cases like
And a
this one right
lot of people
here,
are driven by their ego.
yeah, in this situation here where the school or the guidance counselor or the doctor is
Mm-hmm.
telling you your kid needs more than what you can currently provide, these people want to come in and help it. We get to that defensive black stage where let's keep
Mm-hmm.
all the secrets. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want that outside help, because the minute this person is in our space, and I won't lie, sometimes when you put non-black people in black spaces,
Mm-hmm.
they are going to react in the only way that those non-blacks know how to act.
Mm-hmm.
So they will bring the passive aggressive type
Mm-hmm.
situation and narrative into something that could cause the mom or dad feel to be extra inadequate. Like,
Yeah.
I've been raising this kid. I never knew this in our family, our household. All it starts to become an untangled web,
Mm-hmm.
and it can affect the parenting. But you still gotta let them help sometimes
Yeah.
too.
I mean,
Let them help with limits.
boundaries. You can
Yes,
set boundaries
you
with
can definitely.
anybody. I just feel like a lot of people do. They get so, like you said, they get defensive. They get offended, and having to explain to people that there's nothing wrong with receiving help
Right,
sometimes be seeming crazy to me, because how do you expect to grow? Like, where do you see? I know you don't see you doing your best when it comes to, and this is to a specific group of people,
right,
because I know so many people in the education field who are getting, they're exhausted. Like, these people contemplate leaving these schools all the time because of how the parents are. And then it's like you cannot help these kids because these kids will send their parents off. Like, they will literally lie, they will literally make up something and get their get their parents worked up, and it could be a complete misunderstanding, and some parents don't know how to discuss that. They don't know how to uh I believe in what your children tell you, but to a certain extent, especially when it comes to school.
mm,
These people see your kids all day around people that can easily influence them, or
true.
they trying to show up as somebody else. Don't go up in there so hot. Don't go up in there so hot. Hear the situation out first. Like, you already got your mind made up because of what your kid told you. That shit can just, it could all be like so different if you just went up in there and ready to hear another side of the story, and
Right,
then put the pieces together and see where it makes sense to you at. But yeah, these a lot of people be on go so bad, and it I don't like that for the education system. That's why I said it can get deeper when it comes to that stuff, because a lot of parents, I feel like they fail their kids when they do that.
right,
Like, when they so quick to go on any situation, like even having a conversation with another parent about certain things, like kids that fight outside, then you try to talk to the kids, and oh, they mama said this, or just kids just kids will get you into some shit.
they will.
They will get you into some shit. So yeah, the question would be, what can kind of answer that. But
Yeah,
what can we do differently for the next generation as Black parents, or even as a community?
talk to our kids. I'll keep saying that,
Yeah.
and talk to our kids, not at our kids.
Mhm.
Let's make sure we clarify that. Talk to our kids. Our kids will tell you what they need,
Mhm.
what they want, what they're learning from you, what they don't like, what's going
Mhm.
on. If you have that conversation with that kid, I'm not telling you change anything about who you are,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, you the parent, they the child.
Yeah.
But talk to your kids, because sometimes making that learning experience, that transition, and knowing that your kid will go out there and be a parent one day.
Yeah.
And even when they're a parent, how will they raise your grandkids? You
Yeah.
can't go to your kids and be like, well, how about some grandkids? And you ain't never bestowed into
Okay.
me anything into me that would make me want to be a parent. So therefore, you're not getting any.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely would feel like be willing to listen to what they have to say and accept what they
Exactly.
have to say as well, because again, people be so quick to be defensive and offended by what somebody is telling them. You cannot tell anybody their truth. If they see you a certain way, parents, if they see you a certain way, you got to know that you probably affected them in that way. You
Big
cannot
facts.
tell them that they're lying or that they're wrong. That's not gonna, the conversation will definitely go left. Um but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. I love to get men's perspective
Okay.
on situations or things like this, because I'm definitely open minded. I don't want to just think that I'm always right,
Right.
especially when it comes to parenting, because I have a son
Right.
and I don't want to teach him how to be a man. I
You
really hate
couldn't.
that.
You
I
couldn't.
I know I can't teach him how to be a man, but I can teach him how to be a man that I would want him to be. And I don't want him to be what I want him to be. I want him to be what he wants to be. And I
Okay.
want to accept him for what he wants to be
You're gonna do
and
that
not get,
anyway.
no, I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
want to get offended, or I don't want to get upset with him, because if he's an emotional man, or if he's a person that cries a lot, I don't want to be the one that breaks him down and feel like he can't cry.
But
Like
you
I
won't.
don't.
You won't break him down in a sense as his mother. You'll give him understanding and clarity.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do from a man teaching me that, because right now I don't have any plans for a man to step in and take a role. And
you don't plan.
honestly,
You don't plan for stepdad. Stepdads just happen.
well, I don't have any plans on him happening right now, because yeah, and
But even then, you like I said once again, your village does not have to be
but
family,
and that's the thing. I don't
and
have a village just yet.
but you're developing one.
Okay,
And
I mean
as
I have brothers. My brothers are busy.
they're busy
They're
now.
busy.
They're busy now, but honestly, if you communication goes both ways,
Yeah,
communicate a little bit more and let them know
yeah,
that their nephew needs them
yeah,
in regards to the situation. Let them now step up and take the title of uncle
yeah.
and actually be. And you, like you say, you're saying that, well, they're busy. They're busy may still be able to have space to
Right,
bring him along.
right.
Like stop leaving him out of the family because you're worried about him turning into a certain type of man.
Yeah.
You got to let him experience life. He has to learn things that so
I'm
he
so
can be like,
scared.
yeah, that's parenting. He has to learn things and he has to learn things
Yeah,
on his own. And what you can do to help him out is help him understand option A and option B.
yeah.
Let him still choose which one he wants, but help him get an understanding of what option A comes with, what option B comes with.
Okay.
And as he gets older, these things or these different scenarios are going to be self molded where there may not even be an option B to begin with.
Yeah.
Because when he sees this scenario, he's like, oh, I know this is the one I'm supposed to go with. I don't even have to worry about what the other choice was because this is the way I want to go.
Okay.
And that's how you grow them into being good people while still allowing them to be their own selves.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much
no
for that.
problem.
Um, yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Um, you have a great day. Bye.